Hello, and welcome to Listen to French, the video channel which helps you learn to listen to French and understand what you hear. This week I want to deal with a very important issue, which is the level of difficulty at which you are going to work. When you sign up for a French course, for instance, you need to know the level of difficulty of the course, the vocabulary, and the grammar you'll encounter. It's the same when you're learning to listen. At the beginner or intermediate level, it's not a problem. The audio extracts are scripted and read in the studio by professional French teachers. The vocabulary is appropriate to the target level, and the extracts are read in clear voices. When we try to understand French TV or radio, there's a problem. If we listen to a documentary with a very clear French voiceover, we can understand, or the voice of someone reading the news. But then, in the middle, there's an interview with an ordinary person in the street, and we're completely lost. Why is that? It's because there is an enormous difference between a script read in a studio by a professional and the way we all speak normally. That's the problem we're trying to crack here. Your French courses and the audio magazines you listen to will take you as far as you can go with specially prepared scripted material. But when you take that jump into the world of real language, everyday language, it's a very different ballgame. It's many times harder. In this video, I'm going to play you some short excerpts to demonstrate this, to dispel some myths, and to introduce you to some ideas you may not have come across before. The first myth is that, compared to English speakers, the French speak too fast and indistinctly. No, not at all. It's true that the rhythm of French speech tends to be a little faster than British English, quite a bit faster than American, a lot faster than German. But that will not be true, for instance, of a modern popular American comedy film, where the dialogue will be fast and idiomatic. It's also true that French is a very fluid language. The consonants at the end of words are usually not pronounced, so you get a flow of sound rather than words separated by spaces. But we do much the same in English. And in English, we have the widest range of accents imaginable. In the United Kingdom, which is not a big country, there can be a new accent every 50 miles. People who live in London, in the south, can't understand the Scottish accent, and vice versa. And then there are the different American, Canadian, Australian accents. For the French trying to learn English, it's a real problem. But we need to establish a starting point, so let's listen to someone reading a script very clearly. This documentary about Princess Grace of Monaco was written and read by François Mitterrand, nephew of President Mitterrand and ex-French Minister of Culture. His voice is pedantic, literary, and artificial. In all the years I've been running the Listen to French site, it's the only example of real French that is like what you will hear in your French course or in the audio magazines.
Grace Kelly, princesse de Monaco, n'a jamais oublié le cinéma dont elle avait été l'une des plus grandes étoiles avant d'épouser le prince régnier et de fonder une famille. En filmant sur une petite caméra d'amateur son mari et ses enfants avec un savoir-faire hollywoodien et tout l'amour qu'elle leur portait, la princesse Grace a laissé un magnifique témoignage sur ses proches et sur elle-même. Ce sont ces images, gardées au secret du palais de Monaco, que vous allez découvrir pour la première fois.
Now, even if you found that extract a bit difficult, don't be downhearted. Remember that by watching videos on my sites with the subtitles, you will be accustoming your ear to the sound of natural French, and you will be learning subconsciously. It's like learning a musical instrument. You play scales and finger exercises, but you also listen to the performances of great players to learn what that instrument should sound like. But let's move on to an example of a documentary voiceover that is at once natural French but very clear. This is the sort of documentary for which I search every night on French TV and find all too rarely. There are far too many documentaries bought in from America or Britain and which always have English voices very audible on the soundtrack. Here is the voice of a young French woman It's clear as a bell, but modern and quite natural. It's from a documentary about a rather special motor car, my first car when I was a student.
Certains disent que je suis juste un caprice de l'histoire, le fruit d'une passade, d'un écart de conduite. Mon père était italien, à la fois don Juan et révolutionnaire. Ma mère, une pionnière russe, toujours à l'affût de nouvelles conquêtes. Je suis née de leur rencontre. La première voiture russe qui a su gagner le cœur des gens. Et leur fidèle compagne, pendant 40 ans. Je suis la Lada. En russe, ça veut dire la bien-aimée. C'est aussi le nom des petits bateaux qui naviguent sur la Volga. J'en ai vu de toutes les couleurs dans la vie. Et qui sait ce qui m'attend encore? Suivez-moi. Je vais vous raconter mon histoire.
Ah, the larder. Do you remember the jokes about the larder? I've got a 16-valve larder, 8 in the engine and 8 in the radio. Why do they fit a rear screen heater in the larder? It's to keep your hands warm while you're pushing it. I never had to push mine. Now, something that causes anguish among the French teachers I know, and sometimes surprise among students. I use a lot of extracts from American or British films dubbed into French rather than real French films. The real French teachers don't like that very much. But there are a few reasons for it. One is that of the dozens of films available every evening on French TV, perhaps 95% are not French. And not just films. The French love and watch American series, comedy series, police series, dubbed into French. And in terms of difficulty, these represent the next step up from the scripted documentary. They are far, far easier to understand than native French films. The reason, I think, is that English is normally a little slower than French, and the need to lip sync forces the French dubbing actor to slow down. And also the quality of sound in the dubbing studio is usually clearer, a little artificial. It just gives us that edge in comprehension. To demonstrate this, here is a short extract from a James Bond film, Dr. No, dubbed into French. I need to add that it's possible YouTube will reject this for copyright reasons, in which case I'll put it on the site and give you a link to it.
Vous n'avez pas mal réussi?
Cela dépend comment vous l'interprétez. Je suis le fils non désiré d'un missionnaire allemand et d'une jeune chinoise de bonne famille. Je suis pourtant devenu trésorier des Tang, la plus puissante organisation de toute la Chine.
C'est rare, les Tangs n'ont confiance en personne qui ne soit 100% chinois.
C'est une expérience qui leur a coûté cher. J'ai disparu en Amérique avec 10 millions de leurs dollars, des dollars or.
Et c'est ainsi que vous avez financé cette opération. C'est une bonne idée d'utiliser la force atomique en prenant toutes les précautions appropriées. Par exemple, si votre chambre de décontamination n'était pas efficace, ça aurait de fâcheux effets.
Mon travail m'a apporté une connaissance très complète de la radioactivité. Mais cela m'a coûté assez cher.
Oui, je vois. Votre source de puissance a longtemps intrigué l'organisme dont je fais partie.
Il intrigue encore maintenant, M. Bond.
Ah non, docteur. Je leur ai envoyé un rapport complet sur vous.
Bluff, M. Bond. Ils n'ont plus de contact avec vous depuis que vous avez demandé un compteur GG.
Now, in that dubbed film, the level of difficulty has gone up appreciably, hasn't it? Films are supposed to be natural dialogue. They're scripted, but they're acted in a very intimate manner. Even dubbed films have a lot of that quality. And here we encounter the fact that we understand without necessarily picking up every word. Our brains are very good at filling in the gaps. If we are at this level, we understand that Dr. No says he was treasurer to the Chinese mafia, the Tong. That Bond says it's rare for the Tong to trust someone who isn't Chinese, and Dr. No replies that he stole their money. When I listen to that passage for the first time, I don't necessarily hear every word separately and distinctly. But if I transcribe it, I can get pretty much all of the words by repeating the hard bits with the Audacity editor, as I showed you last week. Now, let's move on to the real thing, unscripted French voices. Educated voices, clear voices, but not reading a script. There is an early evening discussion show called C'est dans l'air, hosted by a man called Yves Calvi. This one was about police corruption. The lady who speaks represents the Union of Police Commissaires.
Céline Berton, peut-être, ça peut paraître bizarre, mais j'ai envie de vous demander, est-ce qu'à l'école de police, on vous prépare à la tentation? Je dis bien à la tentation, parce que c'est quelque chose qu'on a tous en commun, c'est à un moment ou à un autre de savoir comment on doit se comporter dans la vie, ce qu'on peut faire ou ce qu'on ne peut pas faire. Et donc, est-ce qu'on vous parle de ces questions de corruption? Je vous dis pas à 17h55, vous voyez ce que je veux dire, en 3 minutes avant la sortie des cours, mais est-ce qu'on vous parle de ces trucs-là?
Je suis d'abord ravie qu'on puisse entendre dans la bouche d'autres personnes que de syndicalistes ou de responsables policiers à quel point les policiers sont intolérants sur la corruption et à quel point ils sont sévères en interne sur la corruption. Et je tiens à dire que l'affaire que vous évoquerez, celle de Lyon actuellement, c'est la hiérarchie qui la lève. C'est la hiérarchie qui la traite, c'est la hiérarchie qui prend le temps qu'une enquête judiciaire soit menée avec toute la rigueur nécessaire pour que le sujet soit traité avec la rigueur qu'il justifie et que les sanctions, s'il doit y en avoir, il est trop tôt, l'enquête judiciaire n'est pas terminée, la présomption d'innocence s'applique, mais si les faits sont établis, si la justice doit se prononcer ou si des procédures administratives doivent être traitées, elles le seront, et elles le seront avec la sévérité adaptée.
How did you find that? The speaker has a little accent, but she speaks at the pace of a normal French discussion and not really much faster than you or I. If it seems fast, it's simply that your brain has not yet got used to French at this speed. The good news is that if you can listen to French radio or watch TV, there are a lot of discussion programs, so you can teach your brain to go along at this speed. But if you are able to follow this sort of French, you're doing very well indeed. This clip would be for the Sans en Français site, rather than listen to French. It's above third-year university level, and it's above the level required for the oral test in the DALF C2 exam, which is the hardest of which I am aware. The DALF is the diplôme approfondi de langue française, and there's a link to it in the commentary underneath the video. Why try to get to this level? Because it's how French people talk on TV and in the streets. It's the way French culture is communicated today, not by books, unfortunately, but by films, TV, internet. If you want to understand French humour, songs, politics, modern history, you have to come to terms with real French speech. And note, I'm talking about educated, clear voices, not accented voices, or voices using what the English wrongly call argot. If you go on to the real guy in the street, or the level of a modern French police film, oh, that's much harder even still. But we get as far as we can, and that's the fascination. Let me finish with the program I use from time to test my own level. It's the nightly soap opera on France 2 that I referred to earlier, Plus belle la vie. It uses a rapid, intimate style of dialogue where the brain has to reconstruct what is said rather than following each word.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
C'est l'article de Ninon Chaumette, il vient de paraître.
Et t'es pas d'accord avec ce qu'elle a écrit?
Ah si, elle a très bien cerné le problème, franchement, j'aurais pas fait mieux, tu vois.
Jeanne Carmin gère l'hôpital de Marseille-Est de manière inflexible. Son intransigeance est incompatible avec l'humanité qu'on est en droit d'attendre de la santé publique.
C'est clairement à charge, c'est exactement ce qu'il fallait. Et puis alors en plus dans un quotidien national, là, ça va dépoter, hein.
Mais quoi?
Bah, si tu veux là, après ça, j'ai aucune chance de récupérer mon poste.
Ouais, c'était déjà le cas avant, hein. Carmin était clair vendredi.
Ouais, mais je sais pas, j'aurais pu rattraper le coup, m'excuser, enfin je sais pas.
Oh, elle aurait pas cédé. Ça aurait été montrer un signe de faiblesse et c'est pas son genre.
Ouais, je sais, ouais.
Ben ça va, c'est un coup dur, mais t'en retrouveras du boulot.
Après la réputation que je viens de me taper, je suis pas sûr. Hein. Personne n'a envie d'engager une passionnariat incontrôlable.
Dans le public peut-être. Dans le privé, il y a d'autres options.
Ouais. Privé avec mobilier design, les médecins qui roulent en Porsche. Pas trop mon style, ça.
Tu peux te mettre en libéral.
Non, ça m'a jamais tenté, ça. Je peux pas rester sans bosser là, je tiendrai pas. Hein.
Du boulot, pour l'instant, t'en as encore. T'as 2 mois de préavis à faire.
Ouais, en plein milieu de la grève, avec les collègues qui vont me regarder avec pitié, ça va être une super ambiance. Hein.
Eh ben, t'en profiteras pour t'organiser pour la suite.
préparer la suite, oui.
There we are. That's nearly it for this week. Thanks for watching. Merci de votre fidélité. Before we do the comedy spot, here's a thought. There are thousands of French people who are pretty much illiterate. You and I can learn to read and write French as well as they can, or indeed much better. But they can turn on the telly in the evening and watch and understand a French police film that is incomprehensible for us. That's why learning to listen to French is such a challenge. I leave you with one of my favourite French women comics, Sylvie Joly. Here she is doing a very cruel impersonation of an English lady tourist. See you next week. À la prochaine!
Oh, my French is so bad. I can't remember one word, oh my goodness. Plus doucement, please. Ah ouais, d'accord. Vous l'entend, Paris? Une année. Ah ouais, d'accord, un an. Et vous aimez la mode française? French fashion, you mean? What do you mean by comme ci, comme ça? Les petites robes, bon, mais les manteaux, pas bon. J'aimais un manteau reversible, you know. D'un côté sport coat, d'un côté manteau de cocktail, d'un côté raincoat, d'un côté evening coat. Elle est très connue à l'Angleterre. Elle s'appelait, is that a French word you say? Do you say s'appelait? Oh, you know, it's funny, my French is improving when I'm just speaking like that. La principe de reversible, j'adore d'avoir un manteau reversible, because je pense avoir deux manteaux, rouge par exemple, noir, double advantage pour le même money. La vie est reversible, d'un côté comique, d'un côté dramatique. C'est un peu le problème, quoi. Mais vous aimez la France? Oh, I prefer England.